You guys can see the screen? All right. Welcome, everybody. It's exciting to see everybody, some familiar faces. I am going to hold on, give you guys some good information. If you are vet, tech, PT, and you're interested in learning more about rehabilitation, I own a listserv. We have about 2,000 vets, techs, and PTs. Thanks, Ali. We talk about cases, equipment, continuing education opportunities. You can email me at dr.lori@optimumpetvitality.com and say, hey, I was in this webinar, let me know, and we will get you invited into the listserv. A little bit about Optimum Pet Vitality. I taught the rehab certification course for 14 years, and then I came out of that and was burned out. And then I'm like, I have to teach. So I designed this company, and I would highly recommend, if you're interested in, even if you're a pet parent, signing up on the website, and we get a Learn and Go, which is like a video. I love teaching with video much more than writing. Writing is painful to me, though I do it. And you can sign up, and then you'll get things like this, best exercise, all kinds of fun stuff. And then if you want more, you can do a deep dive, and we have our Optimum Laser Therapy course and the Geriatric course. The laser course gives you everything you need to know about lasers, for any laser, and then also how to use it for maximum efficiency. So we go through anatomy and on the bones, the muscles, on the dog, how you point to get the most effect. I have the Optimum Exercise Therapy is designed for geriatrics, but not because the exercises can only be done by geriatrics, but because they were chosen specifically to aid geriatrics. You can use it anything from puppies to adults to your athletes to your geriatrics. So obviously doing something like sit up and bag on a wobble board, it's not for the young at heart. Sid's my amazing dog. And we'll talk more about that later. We have community calls and all kinds of fun stuff. There you go. So what is geriatrics? By definition, it's by age, it's 80% of the expected age of the dog. So in general, small dogs, they expect you to become a geriatric. So we're talking like Chihuahuas, 11.5 years. Medium dogs, 10, large dogs, 9, giant dogs, 7.5. And according to AVMA, 30% of dogs were 6 to 10 years of age, 14% were greater than 10 years of age. And that was 2007, which means we know our pet population, with good diet and exercise, they're living longer. So we see more of these pets. Some words you should be familiar with and what they mean and why we need to know about them. Senescence. I think it's a really cool word. It talks about how each organ system in the body, and this is for every animal, it's not just dogs, but humans, everybody, decreases function and degrades itself just by aging. So our susceptibility to disease increases just by aging. Our ability to deal with stress decreases just by aging. We talk about antioxidants are great. Well, what antioxidants are fighting are oxidants or reactive oxygen species. Just by aging, those increase. Oxidative damage inside the mitochondria. I would ask you to mute yourself if you're not asking a question. Oxidative damage actually damages the mitochondria, so you have less ATP production. So the cells can't do everything it needs to do. And the cells can't differentiate as much, so we have less healthy cells, and it increases apoptosis, another really cool word, which means the cell dies, but it dies by imploding. And you say, well, does that matter? It does, because if it exploded, you'd have all the insides creating a lot more issues in the tissue. So apoptosis is death of the cell, but in a better way than the other way. Just by aging. Senescence. We have more common medical issues: obesity, neoplasia, degenerative joint disease / arthritis, loss of sensory acuity. So my sight decreases, my hearing decreases, My tactile sense decreases. My awareness of my surroundings decrease just by aging. I get more pain-related issues. If you guys are getting older and you're like, oh, I wake up in the morning, my back, right? That can be part of senescence. Really cool. I love when there's science behind this stuff. The College of Family Physicians of Canada put out this article that feel free to go read that says if there's no trauma, moderate exercise does not lead to the acceleration of stifle osteoarthritis. Now, this is in humans with or without pre-existing disease. And you said, why do they care about that? Stifle osteoarthritis is the #1 place that humans get arthritis. So it's studied a lot. By doing moderate exercise, you can improve physical function and reduce pain and disability. So we're not talking drugs. We're not talking expensive, all kinds of crazy stuff. Not that it's crazy, but just by exercising, we can increase ability, decrease pain, and improve physical function. And it's considered an underutilized modality in osteoarthritis pain management. I think that's huge. Sarcopenia is another one that's really important. So muscle fibers, right? I love this picture, right? This is sarcopenia. This is big, healthy muscles, right? We're working out. Just by aging, fat infiltrates into it. So some of the muscle tissue is now fat. So you still have the same circumference, but you don't have the same strength. Then as you continue to get older, those muscle fibers become fibrotic. So you have scar tissue in there. So now, even if you're working out, you have less muscle and less strength. And I hate to say it, but if you look at a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger, right now, he's kind of shrunken up, right? It's not that he's not working out. It's sarcopenia. He's getting older. Along with that, we see increased stiffness. We have less blood flow and then less oxygen to the muscle fibers. We have loss of strength of not only the muscles, but also the tendons. And because we have loss of strength of the tendons and the ligaments, we have decreased support of the joints. So we get some more laxity in the joints, right? Which leads to inflammation and then enhances the arthritis. And inside the joint itself, the chondrocytes, the cells that make the cartilage, the matrix, those decrease. And not only do the number of cells decrease, but the ability to respond to growth factors to double decreases. So they can't respond. There's less of them. And by the way, the growth factors themselves decrease too. If we don't do anything, what we see is a dog who says, I'm tired. I'm going to lay down. I have less exercise. I have less strength. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. I have less strength in my muscles, tendons, and ligaments, which means I have more instability, which means when I do move, I'm really sore. So I'm going to lay around. And it just spirals down. And what my goal, and the people who do rehabilitation and work with geriatrics, is to spiral that back up, get them pain-free, increase activity, increase strength of the muscles. One thing to note is muscles take 3 to 4 weeks to have significant physiologic change in the muscle that you can actually measure. Increase in capillaries, increase in ATP in the cells. So we can measure all these things. Tendons and ligaments take 3 to 4 months to see significant physiologic change, but we can do it. We can actually hypertrophy or make them stronger, which is what we want to do. And that increases stability. Increased stability, the dog feels better, they cycle back up, and they have improved quality of life. So that's huge. Can we slow down sarcopenia? Absolutely. But what we need to know is sarcopenia, slowing that down, is by doing concentric exercises. We do not slow it down by doing eccentric exercises. So let's define those. Yeah, if you guys are with me, take your cup or anything you have that you can grab, right? If I'm sitting here and I feel my biceps, an eccentric exercise is when I'm actually lowering the cup. So my bicep is working, because if it wasn't working, my arm would fall and my T would be all over the floor. So that's a way in a young dog that we can really quickly build muscle strength. We can build tendon strength, which is really good if you have a tendinopathy. Not so good in an old dog. Concentric, I have my T, and now I'm actually lifting the cup. So my muscle is getting shorter instead of longer. That's the kind of exercise that we want to do for our geriatric patients. And then an isometric exercise says, I'm just going to hold this cup for a while. So it stays the same length. And you can say, well, Lori, that's not really an exercise. If you don't believe me, it's an exercise. Hold a plank, right? Like push-up position for 3 minutes. That's an isometric exercise. It's an exercise that is the least likely to get you hurt and the slowest to get you stronger. Other ways, underwater treadmill, balance board, all kinds of exercises on that. Limb weighting, isometric exercise. We're going to talk about some of those. Let's talk about muscle fibers. Now, dogs have more than just type 1 and type 2, but for simplicity's sake, we're just going to talk about type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers. Geriatric dogs, just by getting older, lose up to 25% of the strength of their type 2 muscle fibers. So your type 2 muscle fibers are your bam, I'm going to push really hard. It's my acceleration. It's my power muscle fibers. Type 1 muscle fibers are the ones we think of, and almost all muscles have both types. It's just what percentage of each. My type 1 muscle fibers are the ones that do my posture, right, and help stabilize my joints. And those are the ones I use for endurance, which is why if you see a gym rat, who's someone who's like lifting power weights, they're strengthening their type 2 muscle fibers, thick hypertrophied muscles. And a marathon runner, right, they can go forever, but they're really thin muscles. It's not that they're not strong, but those are the type 1 muscle fibers. Why do I tell you this? Because just by getting older, we lose up to 25% of our type 2 muscle fibers. The way we lose our type 1 muscle fibers is not from getting older, it's from disuse, which means if my old dog lays around, I'm losing both. If I get my older dog on any dog on an exercise program and we keep him strong, we can help compensate for that type 2 muscle fiber loss that we can't control by adding type 1 muscle fibers. And what's really cool is we can actually increase some of the muscle fibers. They will convert from type 2 to type 1, which is really good. Let's talk about the brain. Right? You guys all know of dogs who have like cognitive dysfunction. We can change the brain with exercise. I love this picture. This is a young dog's MRI, and this is an old dog's MRI. Things to look at. Look at all the beautiful differentiation between the white and gray matter. Not so much here. Look at the size of the ventricles. They're much bigger here. What does that mean? It means there's less brain tissue because we have more fluid. This is the same place through the skull. The other big thing to note here is this little guy right here. That's the hippocampus. That's who's in charge of memory and learning. Look how big that is here. Look how tiny it is here, right? Tiny, 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 but we can build that guy up. So let's talk about some studies, right? Because I'm a nerd. I don't care. That's all right. I'm happy to. Oh, right. So let's talk about some studies, right? Because I'm a nerd. I don't care. That's all right. I'm happy to. Oh, I think somebody has to mute themselves because I think I'm coming through them. All right. So let's talk about some mice studies. Aging mice placed in an enriched environment for 45 days. So they had some mice that are just in their little cells, their little cages. And then some mice that are old, they said, okay, let's just for 45 days, put you in an enriched environment, right? Have like toys and stuff like up here. The hippocampus in 45 days increased by 15%, the size, the weight, which when they measured it out was more than 40,000 more neurons. That's crazy. That's cool. And that's 45 days. So let's look at more than that. So then they took mice that were about halfway through their life, right? So you figure people live to be like 80, 85. So that would be like taking a 40 or 42-year-old person and they put them in an enriched environment for 10 months. What they found was they had a 5 times the number of neurons in their hippocampus. And when they tested them, they were higher in intelligence, they explored more, they had a lot more motion, they moved around more, and they were willing to learn, and they could learn better. So then they said, well, let's compare running, just walking or running on a wheel versus, so that would be like us going jogging or walking the dog, versus an enriched environment. And they said the most efficacious way to increase neurons, to increase new neurons, was walking on the wheel. So don't stop walking your dog just because you're doing targeted exercises at home, walking, swimming, jogging, if you're doing agility or something where you're having long time exercising, is really important. After 1 month of being on this wheel, the number of neurons in the hippocampus doubled. They said it stimulates the anticipatory proliferation. So it's like, they're like, I'm going to get somewhere, I'm going to get somewhere, and that's enough to stimulate the brain. And I put the citation in here if you're interested. It's cool paper. And they found that, okay, well, if I'm just walking or running, that's going to increase the number of new neurons, but by putting them in an enriched area and changing up the activities, so teaching the dogs new tricks, it didn't increase the number of new neurons, but it made them live significantly longer. I think that's really cool. So by doing both endurance work and trained work where they're using their brain, we can literally increase their brain size and their brain health. Another study looked at humans, and you may think this is sad, but I think it's super cool because these humans were willing to do it. They were terminal. They knew they were going to die. So half of them they took and they said, we're going to do these brain puzzles, we're going to do these certain things. And then the other half, they just hung out until they died. And then they looked at their brain and they found that the humans that were stimulating their brain had increased brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which tells us that their brain is growing, and they had brand new neurons. So these old people who were dying because they were still reading and doing puzzles and stuff, it was able to, learning languages is huge for humans, stimulate significant neuroplasticity. Also, when we exercise, it stimulates the dogs, stimulates our heart and lungs. So we increase blood flow to the brain and the muscles. Studies showed nothing speeds brain atrophy more than being immobilized in a non-stimulatory environment. So think of all the people who are in nursing homes or hospitals and they have the boob tube and a window and that's it, right? Nothing speeds brain atrophy more than being immobilized in a non-stimulatory environment. So let's talk about exercise. Goal for all exercises. I want the dogs to feel better, move better, and have better normal daily function when they're done with exercises as compared to before they start the exercises. So let's talk about that. Rule of thumb, before you start any exercise, I want you to observe them. So how do they stand? Are they shifted to the back, to the side, to the front? How do they walk or trot? Why do I say that? Because if you have a border collie and you ask a border collie to walk, they're like, oh God, it's just awkward, right? They trot, even at a slow pace, they're gonna trot. Aussies, a lot of times will do that too, but border collies, it's like almost all of them. So we want to see how they're moving and then how they transition. So they go from a down to a sit to a stand to a sit, and a sit to a down. Do they have to shift their weight off? Are they slow? Do they throw themselves down? We look at all of that stuff. Then after each exercise and after the exercise session, we do a quick, okay, are you better? And you may not see any better, and that's okay. But if they're worse, it's not okay. So if they are lame, if they've changed their gait, meaning they were trotting and now they're pacing, or they're lame or asymmetrical, they're weight shifting off of one side, either it's the wrong exercise, it's too difficult or intense. We did too many reps, right? It's easy to do one push-up. It's not as easy to do 1,000 push-ups, or it's too close together. We did 25 push-ups 5 minutes ago and we're going to do it again. Not a good idea. So you need to change at least one of those variables. So let's talk about some of the exercises. Oh, Laura, I just realized that you and Stella are in this. So this is really cool. All right. Not this exercise, but later. Rhythmic stabilization stabilizes the muscles that hold the trunk and the joints together. So it's great for our weaker dogs. We ask them to stand square and we ask them to stay. And then you gently push until their trunk muscles contract and you feel it and you hold it and you hold it and you hold it, usually like 3 to 5 seconds. And then you let them go. So you don't want it to be hard enough that you're going to make them take a step or that you knock them over. That's not nice. We can repeat in different directions. I have to move this because this, oh, actually, hold on. We're going to go there. Repeat in different directions to stimulate different muscles. So we can do it by the shoulders, by the trunk, by the pelvis. We can go forward or back. Go to this, right? So here we are taking my hand and I'm pushing him. You can actually see his muscles contract as I do that. Oh, there he started to take a step, so too hard. I can pull him back. Now, if he's pulling his weight forward because his back end hurts, I'm not going to push him forward. I'm going to pull him back to strengthen what he's already weak at. And we don't want to push him in any direction that's going to cause him pain. So we want to make sure pain is out of the equation. Now, he may be in pain standing on something, but if I'm not increasing the pain, then it's okay. But I never want to increase the pain. And there's Sid saying hi. Cookie dance. Cookie dance is, think about, we can use it for weight shifting, balance shifting. Again, it's a little bit more than rhythmic stabilization. In this, our feet stay square. So that's an important rule. Feet stay square. Then we can take the cookies up, down, left, right, diagonals. If they're really weak, just have a hand there on their collar, on their harness to make sure they don't fall over, right? Smaller motion than cookie stretch, if that's what you have been taught. And let's go this way. So here's an idea, right? So here's Ollie. I ask him to stand square. I have my hand on his collar to teach him, you got to stay in one place. And then I'm shifting his weight around. Go up, down, left, right. He says, Mama, I will be your demo dog any day. Just keep the good food coming. All right. Cookie stretch. Here we go. There's Stella. Cookie stretch is a bigger exercise. Now they can move their feet, but we don't want them just spinning around. Strengthens the paraspinal muscles in the trunk. We can use it to weight shift to any limb or front or rear. We can use it as a diagnostic tool. All of my clients know cookie stretches because if you take the cookie and they go, cookie, 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 that's a pain response. It hurts. And where I was flexing is where it hurts, right? As compared to if I take the cookie and they go, I really want to get there, but I can't. It tells me there's a restriction because they want to go, they're looking at it with their eyes, but they can't get there. And we want to keep the cookie close to the body. So if you look here with Stella, Laura did a great job following it from the shoulder to the hip. And then we go down to the back toes. We can go to the chest, the floor, headstand position, and then straight up. Look at that beautiful Stella's back curved. Obviously, we do it on both sides. Here we go. So shoulder. We go down. I'm going to come toward her hip. She was such a good demo dog. I think I can play this one at the same time. There we go. And here she is. Look at that beautiful extension. Come to her chest. There's back to her hip, right? So you can see how nicely she's moving. All right. If your dog or your pet or your patient is like, oh my God, I can't do that. It is much better to do multiple short sessions than push them until they're either exhausted or hurt, and then you're done, right? Because they're not going to have fun and you're not going to have fun. So with our weaker dogs, that might mean we're going to walk around the dining room table 3 times, or we're going to walk out to the mailbox 5 times a day. Then as they get stronger and their endurance builds, we can do more and more and more. And does it make sense if I said, okay, we're going to do push-ups, and I'm going to ask you to do 5 push-ups? To go from 5 push-ups to 6 push-ups is 1 more push-up, so it's 20%. But if you're at 100 push-ups and you go from 100 to 101, it's only 1%. So the stronger they get, the faster you can build. Okay. And we can add by distance, we can add by time, we can add by reps, but never to the point that they're sore or painful. All right. Another one, standing with front feet raised. Weight shifts to the back, so it strengthens the rear limbs, the trunk, enhances balance. It can be on a cushion, a pillow, a disc, a low wobble or rocker board while the other legs are on the ground, right? So here, it can be left alone or it can be manipulated. Here we go. This is with Miss Lulu. I was teaching her and her mom. So Lulu is a geriatric dog. And you can see here, we said, okay, let's see, this is 4 inches high, how she does here. And then we're going to say, okay, you're doing good here. That doesn't look really hard. So then we come up and we say, okay, this is a little bit higher. Now we're at about 6 or 7 inches. Back feet are down. Now this is even harder, right? Because now her back feet are on an unstable surface and her front feet are elevated. And you can see how much more of an angle her back is at. So that's harder. I can push the cookie into her nose so that she's shifting her weight back. I can bring it forward so she's shifting her weight forward. Now we have higher, right? She says, oh, that's really high. I don't know if I can get there. So we help her up. And she's like, oh, I got it. Okay. And again, look how much steeper her back is. So now I'm working her trunk more, her weight shifted back. I have a lot more weight on her rear end. Okay. 3-legged stands. I show you this because humans do it too, right? We can do a 3-legged stand. This is a diagonal limb stand. This would be much harder than this. Enhances balance, strengthens the trunk. Again, this is an isometric exercise. So this is safe. All of these so far have been really super safe. Dog stand square. We're going to lift 1 leg off the ground. We're going to watch them sway, right? And swaying is okay. That means they're struggling. And we get our strongest when we're struggling, right? If we're doing something that's always easy, we're not getting stronger. I put this picture in because I have to tell you, one of the best phone calls I ever got was, Lori, I have to tell you, Ralph lifted his leg for the first time in 2 years, right? That's a great phone call to get because we were able to get rid of his pain, get things moving again, and then strengthen the muscles to allow him to do this. So he could do it on his own. And he was so proud of himself. So we lift a back leg, then a front leg, right? Front leg, back leg. That's 1 repetition. And then we build from there. So here's Ollie. I'm gently lifting it up. I'm not grabbing. Grabbing helps him. I'm not picking it all the way up or he would lean into my hand. I don't have to take it high off the ground. Okay, then we're going to pick up the next one. So very gentle. You see him start to sway there, right? That's him using his trunk muscles. Now, Ollie is 12 in this video. So definitely geriatric. And he's a 95-pound boy. Cavalettis. If they are weak, we start them 1.5 body length. So really far so that they can get all 4 feet over before they have to think of the next pole, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, there's another one. Then it depends upon what our goal is, what we do. So we can do, if they're going to be walking through them, floor to shoulder height as our, so floor to how high their shoulder is, and make that how far apart they are. If they trot, remember we talked about border collies and Aussies, we're going to say, here's the floor, here's the withers, a little bit less than that. That's going to be about their stride length. And if you saw Ollie doing this, this is totally different. These are really close together because my goal isn't just striding. It's, I wanted him to work on flexion, right? People ask me, what do I do? It's always, what's your goal? I put this one in slow motion so you can see Miss Lulu come through here. One of the things you want to see when you're spacing them is that if we watch that foot hits here, we want the next foot to hit in the same place between the two poles. And that's how we know we're at stride length. And you can watch either the front feet or the rear feet. But if it's hitting the same place between the two poles, you know that that is their actual stride length, and those are correct if that's what you're looking for. And if you think these are really cool, and these are really cool, those are Cavaletti checks, and you can buy those at the OPV, Optimum Pet Vitality website. All right, goosing. Goosing is where we tickle the belly or the flank and we get them to contract their abdominal muscles. So dogs that are lordotic, right? So sway back, by tickling those muscles, it gets them to contract. And we see this kyphosis, right? It's wonderful if they're lordotic or if they have weak abdominal muscles. If they are already kyphotic, if they're already in this position, don't do it. Bad thing, don't do it. When you do it, hold it for 2 to 5 seconds, and we can do all kinds of reps. So here's again, Miss Lulu, and we're going to come in and tickle. We're not pushing up. She's contracting her abdomen. So we can tickle her chest, her abdomen, or her flank to get her to contract her abdominal muscles. And always praise them, right? Because you don't want to just piss them off. There you go. You can see her muscles. And then we smooth her back down and she relaxes. Sidestepping. Side. This is Rudy. This was my baby. He had an osteosarc and we took off and he did a partial amputation and he had his prosthetic. Play that again because it's really cool. And I was told I would have 4 to 6 months with him, and we had 43 months. So he ran and played in the snow and in the sun with his prosthetic. So it's a really cool thing. You can, why do we do it? For increasing the strength of the muscles of adduction and abduction, right? So the muscles that help stabilize the hips and the shoulders, that's their major action. And then the other limb joints as a secondary action. So knees, elbows, wrists, tarsus. So you can either stand to the side and walk into them. You can use an arm extender, right? And I would usually use something more stable than a pool noodle, but whatever works. Don't let them fall over. And we can do it with what we call a suitcase. So we have wrap. So this is a leash so that when Stella wanted to sit down, we just jiggled it a little bit to remind her, don't sit down. We want you standing up. And we said these exercises can be done with athletes. This is Ezra. And Ezra got so much stronger. He came to me and had major issues. He was trying to compete in obedience, agility, conformation, and he just had nothing to him. And we got him doing this. And if you say, well, that's really cool, we can take it one step further. This is Sid, my amazing dog, who when I got him, I said, you are straight in the knees and a little bit longer in the back than I would like. And I am not going to let you have cruciate issues or iliopsoas issues or back issues. So I made him strong. So you can see Ali in the background. So he's doing it on a round ball and going sideways. We can take these exercises all the way up. Backwards walking. Ooh. Again, there's Rudy That's when he had all 4 legs. This is great for strengthening the muscles of propulsion. Athletes, this is huge. And we can progress all different ways. We can guide them with gentle pressure. You can put them in a heel position. If your dog is obedience trained, you have to walk fast. Because what are they trained to do? If you're walking backwards and you stop, they want to sit. And we don't want them to take itty bitty steps because they're waiting for you to sit. We want them to be taking nice big steps so we can strengthen their back end. If you go to hold their collar and their groin area and walk them back and they start spinning away from you, put them next to a wall or a couch or a fence so that they back up in a straight position. Let's try this way. You can use frozen peanut butter on a spoon. So here's Sid. I can drive the dog. So I can turn the direction of the spoon and he will back up into that. So what we're looking for is nice big steps with the back legs. Again, great for strengthening the gastroc, the calf muscles, the hamstrings, and the glutes, which are all muscles of propulsion. Great for jumping and strength. Okay. If I have a strong dog as a geriatric dog, here's Ezra again, we can do ball work. Now, this is something that I do not only for my strong geriatrics, but all of my athletes start with this. This is us moving the ball for him and he's walking backwards. So think about this. His weight is shifted to his back end. He is walking backwards with his back legs, but forward with his front legs. So I'm working on his brain as well. He has to think about that. And then this is him walking the ball forward with nobody helping him. So again, he's walking forward with his back legs and backwards with his front legs. And he's controlling the ball. So think about this. He's controlling the ball, which means he's using his trunk to hold it in so it doesn't just go flying. This is an amazing exercise for the whole dog. Creating the exercise plan. If they're weak, start with short segments. A little bit here, a little bit there. You can do it a couple times a day. We don't want to, in the beginning, push them to the point of fatigue. Once they're athletes, we can push them to the point of fatigue because when they're tired is when they're going to get the most strong. We can do some exercises every day, right? We walk around every day, right? We don't push them to the point of fatigue every day. We have to give their body a chance to build that creatinine, that the enzymes and things they need in the muscles. They need to be able to build that back up before you push them again. Once you get to harder exercises, think about working the dogs 2 to 5 times a week. If you're working the dog 5 times a week, it's not 5 days in a row and then 2 days off. Even if you're working Monday through Friday, if you can take one of those days, separate them out a little bit, that would be good. So that it's like they're on for a day or two, off for a day, on for a day or two, off for a day. Tired is good. Sore is not good. So if they get up, right? We did too much. You need to back it down a little bit. Okay. So again, I want to tell you guys, Optimum Pet Vitality, if you're interested in learning more, highly recommend just come to the website, check it out, see if it's something that you might be interested in. OptimumPetVitality.com/optimum-exercise-therapy-course. And you can enter to win. So if you send an email to thrive@optimumpetvitality.com and say, hey, I want to win a free exercise course, we're going to pick somebody. And let me tell you, I say bronze level. The difference, bronze, you get all of the information, the course materials. So you get to watch all the videos, you get all of the proceedings and everything that goes with it. Because I'm a giver, I want to give you as much as I can. Gold, limited to a small group of people. And some of the people that are on here tonight have gone through it. So they can tell you that they were really happy with it. You get all the materials, you get the community, so you can ask questions in the community. You get 7 2-hour webinars. I won't tell them that. I think our last one was like almost 3 hours or something like that. I personally, you get homework in gold. So you get to video yourself doing these exercises with your dog. I review them and then we get together and we talk about it. So you can see, oh, when the person does this, the dog does that. Or I thought I was doing this, but I was actually doing that. And it really helps you, especially if you're going to be teaching other people how to do the exercises. And you have direct access to me. We talk about all kinds of stuff. And if you're thinking about doing it till the end of the year, because I know this is going to be recorded, if you end up buying the course at any level and you put in SAENA 22, you will get 20% off the course. So highly recommend you do that. So again, coupon code SAENA. Thank you to everybody at SAENA 22 for 20% off any level of the course. And I think, yeah, questions. Left time for questions? Yes.
Thanks, Lori. If anyone has any questions, you can put it in the chat or put your hand up. I can unmute you. Just reading through the comments. Heather says, for me, I call the dog senior based on age, and I called them geriatric based on diseases and general health and wellness.
Okay. I see in here Lori's email again, so we can get put on the listserv. It is, email me at doctor, so dr.laurie, Laurie. You like the way I have to close my eyes to think about that? At optimumpetvitality.com. So dr.laurie, Laurie, at optimumpetvitality.com.
Yeah, let's put that in the chat.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Yes, this is being recorded. Faye, do you want to tell them?
Yep, we've got a recording going. Laurie, we'll send it to Laurie to distribute to all her members, and all Sienna members will be in our website in your members portal.
And Heather, yes. There's a lot of different supplements that can help with cognition. The recording being made later. Yep. All right. Is that all the questions?
No, there's a question. No, sorry, I've just.
Great
Dr.
lecture.
Laurie, I
Theme.
have a question.
Yeah.
If it's okay. I have 2, if that's okay. I have a dog who is unable to walk her back legs. We had an MRI last week, and sadly, she has too many compressed discs and fluid in the spine. I am continuing PT with a water treadmill, and I have some exercises at home. Is there something that you can, because she is 9, exercises, she's bored. And I'm just trying, I have to carry her everywhere. I do have a wheel for her to walk, a dog wheel, but she's a Pekingese. She's not into it at all. You can see her right here. Is there something that you would recommend to keep her stimulated and exercise for the brain? I'm worried more now about her brain, her cognitive.
So think about this. Even if she can't get up and walk, you can put her either in a sternal recumbency, so like a sphinx position, and do rhythmic stabilization with her, right? Or if she can tall sit, so in a regular like sitting position, you can do rhythmic stabilization, and then absolutely brain games. So even taking really high value treats and putting them in a paper bag, so not plastic where she could choke on it, but something that she can use her front feet and tear up. It's exciting. Or toys that she can move around, not too far to roll, that it's like out of her way. Or if she can crawl, you can literally put treats every like 6 to 8 inches and help her learn how to crawl across the floor. I actually had a patient we were teaching to walk again, and the client called me and she said, Laurie, you taught me to put the cookies, and I got no sleep last night. And I'm like, oh crap, what did I do? She said, the dog learned not only to crawl, but then to roll. So she would roll into the dresser and hit the dresser, and then roll into the bed and hit the bed, and then roll into the wall and hit the wall. So they can learn all kinds of things.
She's food motivated, so that's great. And she can crawl. So I will definitely try that. And lastly, quickly, another dog I'm a foster mom who jumps up and down off things that he can. And I'm worried that he's going to injure himself. I see the worst of everything, of course, in the shelters. Is there an exercise that I can do to help strengthen his muscles? I'm trying to prevent him from jumping up on the couch, but he does that. But is there an exercise I can work with him besides walking?
So jumping up on the couch is no problem. If he's little, it's the jumping down that's going to be a problem, right?
Right.
So he
Right.
put in a mattress or some pillows or something in front of the couch, so that if he does jump down, I mean, you can put a ramp there, but some dogs are like right over the ramp, right? Whereas if there's a
Yeah.
pillow, it's soft landing. Or
Okay.
you have like an air mattress or something like that that you can put like halfway underneath.
Okay. I
There's
had a
things that
yoga mat, but
Mhm.
I just have flooring, so the carpet's gone. And so it's like, oh, I can just see in 2 or 3 years surgery. And so I'll try and
Right.
soften yeah. Is there exercises though with that could strengthen? Or no, just
So
kind of soften the landing?
tired dog is a happy dog, right? So
Oh,
again, jumping up on things, you
yes.
can teach him to jump up and then lift him down, jump up, lift him down, jump up. If that's what gets him so excited, okay,
Yeah.
jumping up isn't the problem. And
Yeah.
again, like even like I've had people get a 4-inch pillow topper for a mattress, like getting a queen or a twin and then folding it in half. So it's like
Oh,
8 inches high, and then it's only
oh,
like this wide, so that when they
okay.
jump down, it's nice and soft.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Other questions?
I had a question. You
Yeah.
said something about not using eccentric movements and use concentric. Why was that? Is that because of the stretch?
As dogs age,
Yeah.
if you're doing eccentric exercises, that's not going to slow down sarcopenia. Concentric exercises will slow down sarcopenia.
Okay. And
So
yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I just got another question. Did you have anything more to say for that one? No.
Just remember, it's the things like the rhythmic stabilization, things that are isometric or concentric are what we use, because that's going to strengthen our type 1 muscle fibers, and that helps us make up for the loss of the type 2 muscle fibers. So like the jumping up and down, right? That's using our type 2 muscle fibers. That's our force, our power. Those are the ones that we can't control.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I've got a dog who has some spinal issues. He's got like a bit of the discs in his neck are a bit joint together. But he's also got incontinence, and the vet says it's probably from his spine and nerves. Will these exercises help with something like that?
Incontinence, urine or fecal?
Urine.
So things that can help: acupuncture, right? If you've been to someone who does animal chiropractic, I've had some patients where we've gotten rid of it with that. I always say rule out a bladder infection. Collagen, I don't know if you can get it. It's a choline supplement. So when you have, especially for older dogs that have incontinence, acetylcholine is one of the major neurotransmitters in the body. And as we age, right, there's a lot of old women and men who are in diapers right now. They don't get enough of choline to produce the acetylcholine. And that's one of the neurotransmitters that tells the body, tells the brain, my bladder's full, my colon's full, because the message has to go to the brain, and then the brain controls it and says, okay, yes, release, or hold on to it. So collagen, and you can get that. I don't think you need a prescription for it, so you can get it online. Actually, hold on one second. It's good for cognitive issues as well as old dog fecal and urinary incontinence. And I have Ollie on it.
Okay. Is that, can you spell that?
Here we go, here.
Yeah.
CHOLODIN.
Oh, dear. Yeah. No, thank you. I've got another question in the chat. Exercise ideas for elbow arthritis and helping reduce disuse atrophy.
Yeah, so anything from like the rhythmic stabilization to the three-legged stands, all of that is helping strengthen the muscles that support the joint without putting any trauma to the joint or any shear force if we're dealing with a knee osteoarthritis issue. So having them stay in one place, so pushing them, lifting the legs, front feet on the cushion or on an elevated surface, that also is good. And then you can combine them, right? So if the dog can stand with their front feet raised on something, then you can add rhythmic stabilization to that. So we can challenge all kinds of animals and get them stronger.
Anyone else with a
Any-
question?
Here, we can go into the chat.
I guess if anyone wants
If you were
to,
doing that dog that you just said with the elbow arthritis, would you also include the arthritic leg? Because if you're going to weight shift off onto that leg, is that okay? Or do you just only work with that leg and shifting onto the other leg?
Great
Not
question.
side.
So if we take what the College of Surgeons or orthopedic, whatever it was for Canada, they said that even if you have disease in the arthritic joint, or if you have disease in the joint, doing moderate exercise is not going to increase the rate of arthritis. So as long as you're not causing active pain, as long as you're not decreasing the ability of them to walk, transition, or stand, right? So afterwards, you're not shifting weight off of it, then absolutely it's great to strengthen that one too.
anyone else? That was a really great talk, Laurie. I think
you.
everyone will go home and do some exercises this week with their old dogs. And it's great to see that there's ways we can, even if they're old and quite frail or weak, we can still work with them, give them something to do, stimulate their brain as well,
Yes.
and not think we're going to hurt them.
And keep walking your dogs. That's equally important for
Yeah.
both brain and muscle.
And may I ask Dr. Lori, the treat that you put in the brown bag, is the idea for her to try to get into it? And so is she just trying, or what was, do I actually let her get the treat?
Yes. Yeah. You want her to get the
Okay.
treats. You want her to tear the bag apart. So like so many people buy stuffed animals for their dogs. Oh, and I'm sure I have them around here where they're like indestructible, which is great. Yet I'm one of those people who will go to like the Goodwill shelter and for like 50 cents a piece, get the cheap ones. So the dogs have the joy of fluff everywhere, right? Rip it to pieces. It's 50 cents, right? It's okay. We throw it in the washing machine first. It's good to go, right? They love that being able to get to it. So that's why I said a nice stinky treat in paper, not plastic, to get them to chew it and pull it and run it and do whatever they can with it.
Okay, and that stimulates her brain, so she has some excitement because she's so
Mhm.
bored she can't walk. So that's what we're trying to do, is stimulate her brain.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of other things you can do. You can get like a licky mat, right, and put some peanut
Yeah, I
butter
have
on
those.
thing, right?
Okay.
Or they have the puzzles that they can play with.
Okay.
Like Kong, we have the Kong that is like if you're old enough to remember, Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down,
Yeah, I'm
right?
old enough.
Like
Yeah.
that. And they can play with it and it knocks the cookies or the treats or the food out.
Okay. Okay. And I could probably go online and look for ways to stimulate your dog's brain and stuff like that, right? Even sprays, they say, with the sit, and it makes them think and their brain move. So
Mhm. You know, the other
Wonderful.
thing I have people do is like, you're talking about a Pekingese, but even with the bigger dogs, and you're like, oh, you know, they don't go anywhere. That doesn't mean they don't have to. You can put them in the car, take them to the park. You can put them in a
Yeah.
wagon or a stroller, take them all
Mhm.
kinds of places so they can see people and new things and new
Yeah.
smells and
Yeah.
enjoy
I
the
have a dog chair, a walking chair, and I live in Las Vegas, it's very hot, but it's cooling down now, and she loves our walks, you know, and people think I'm spoiling my dog, little they know she can't walk, but she loves it. So that's reminding me to take her to the park for that same reason. So thank you. Yeah.
Sure. Awesome. All right. Any?
Yeah, if
Yeah.
there's no more questions, Sienna would just like to extend an offer to Laurie's mailing list and members. And this is for pet professionals who studied Laurie's courses or are going to. The Sienna would like to extend our membership to you guys and offer a 6-month free trial membership. We do have other webinars that we have monthly. We have about 10 a year from other holistic vets and rehab practitioners and experts. And we'll send out more information in an email through Laurie when we get all the details running. Okay,
Awesome.
thank you.
All right, everybody. I hope you had a great night. I hope you learned something and I hope you had fun.
Yeah, we did. All right, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks, Laurie.